can you play crazy looking whatever the deuce in the key of blah blah? In these crazy times, the world just needs a hero to help cut through all the noise.
Well, now you have two.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Heroes of Noise after a brief hiatus. I'm your host, Steve.
What? We are back, aren't we? This is amazing. Welcome, everybody. Heroes of Noise, episode 33. You got your boy Dan talking at you right now. Welcome back.
It's crazy that we have been gone so long, but I've been trying to record, but Dan's just not into it. We just got to put it out there. Dan's just not into it. He's like, Heroes of Noise is kind of boring to me because my life is so awesome. I'm like, you know what? I get it.
Right off the bat. This is what you came back for, everybody. Whole bunch of bullshit. Welcome to the shit show. Yeah, you know what, though? I will say that the absence of Heroes of Noise is actually 100% on me. Had some surgery. I know some of you that listen to the other show, and we'll get to that in a little bit, know my situation, but I had some shoulder surgery, and I was recovering. Okay, I'll get a little deep with you, Steve. You want to get a little Barbara Walters
I would love to. No tears from Barbara Walters, though. She's good at that.
I'm going to talk about it, honestly. I've been thinking about on whether or not I really wanted to go there, and I believe this is the first time you're actually going to hear this, too. But, I'm gay. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to be like, dude, I was literally like, dude, this is about to get serious.
No, it's not serious. But I will say that when all was said and done, I've been off for the last 4 weeks, and I go back on August 20th, hopefully. Mm-hmm. I think there's not going to be a problem with that. But during my time off, I realized something major. And what it was that I was completely, without a doubt, without question, burnt out. So bad. I was not myself. I was kind of like detached from everything. Now, I wanted to make sure that we got the word out. Not the word out, but our show, the word out, because it's timed, it's something that we have to do week to week. So I've really been trying to focus on that. But I needed a couple of weeks off, man. A few good weeks of just sort of taking care of me because I was getting really burnt out. My memory was getting bad. I was getting edgy, almost more emotional than I normally am. I couldn't focus. It was really weird. I was going through something, and I contribute that 100% to just working all the time. We've talked about this a lot on this show and how much I work, but I've been really burnt out. So I've been really wanting to get back to this for honestly wanting to get back to it for about the last week. And because of our schedules, it just didn't really line up right. Steve's been, because Steve he works, and I haven't been working. And the times that we only had maybe an hour to do a show or something. And it just, we didn't want to come back and just drop an hour on you. Maybe we should have. Maybe that would have been the right thing to do. But to be honest, guys, I needed a break, and it has nothing to do with the show. This is one of my main sources of fun. I love doing podcasting, but I needed a little time to kind of get my brain back in order. So that honestly is the truth, Steve. That's one of the main reasons why there has been no show, why there's been I believe a 5-week span between episode 32 and 33.
You always have been as long as I've known you, you've been a workhorse. You work. It's kind of a good thing that you have some time to chill now, to breathe. The hard thing about breathing is you're like, why don't I do this more? And then life tells you because you can't. And then that goes to that spiral.
Yeah, I'm having that realization right now because I have, people listen. So I've got some things that I need to do to change in my life, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly how to do that. But I can tell you one thing for sure, sir, it's coming. Particularly, and we won't get into this, we talked about it off mic, but considering that you might be going through some changes in your...
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
It's going to make it a lot easier for me to do what I need to do as well. I know that probably makes no sense to you guys, but I think you do know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, for sure.
Right. Sorry to keep it cryptic.
My changes is going to because there's going to be nothing keeping you from making your changes. Not even if it was 0.1%. Well, that 0.1% is gone. Even though there's other factors I know, but it's really interesting to see you now because now you're so kind of chill. Even there was an issue that happened to you. I don't know if you want to go into it. We could cut this out if you want.
Oh, I don't care.
There was an issue that happened at your house, and you just took it in stride. I was like, man,
it's just a leak. There's a leak.
I know, but normally you would have been like, this freaking, like, I think it would have made you more upset than you. I knew it was a weird thing because I was surprised at how cool you took it. I was like, he's not tripping. Normally this will be a thing that's just like, daggone it, and now this, but it wasn't that for you. I was like, oh, this is chill Dan.
A much more loose Dan. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
I've had time to like decompress, man. I feel good.
Yeah.
And what's weird is I'm getting bored now. Like I don't necessarily want to go back to work just yet, but I'm finding ways to keep myself entertained. My house is clean. It's crazy clean. Like not like the daily clean, but you know that like when we're getting ready to move, you got to clean out all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yes.
That shit's all taken care of now. We've really been kind of kicking ass at that over the last few days. But I took a good solid 3 weeks off and just sat around, man, resting, watching a lot of television. It was weird too because the medication that I've been on, I had to stop taking because I couldn't concentrate. I watched so much television and I've watched a few movies and everything, and I was unable to retain most of it, man. I had to really write these things out because my brain just wasn't working right, you know?
Recently I went to a little event and I was around some friends, well, not friends, but friends of friends. And my immediate thought when I was invited to the event was no. Automatically. I'm literally saying, they're like, would you like to come to this thing? And I'm like, no, in my brain.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just like telling them, nah, no thanks. Don't want any part of it.
Oh, it was an automatic no. And I had to think, I said, you know what? Let me tell you, this is an epiphany I came to this week, Dan.
Oh, is this what we were starting to talk about the other day? Yes, do tell. I'm very interested. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I believe Steve's going through a life change.
I am.
Is that okay? You are.
There's no question.
It's
life
accurate.
Change, and it's little things. Like I was watching last week. There's a show on. Well, it's a podcast, but it's a show that I accidentally stumbled across on YouTube.
Okay.
And this show, what they do is they bring up comedians. They pull a name out of a hat. I guess comedians go into the spot and they put their name in a hat. And what they do is they have a bunch of guest comedians, like popular people that are really good comedians, and they'll pick out a name out of the hat. And whoever it is, they get up on stage and do a minute of, like newcomers do a minute of comedy. And then after the comedy, you might get ripped apart by these comedians up there about how terrible it was. Or if you do well, great. But of course, if it's your first time or second time, you're going to just bomb. And now these professional comedians are destroying you.
Question for you real quick.
Yes.
So the people that are performing, is it improvisational or do they have like a little act?
They have a snip, but sometimes they get nervous and rush. And then people laugh and they're like, all right, well, that was a minute is longer than I thought. And they're sitting up there for 30 seconds in silence.
For real, a minute's long, man. If you're doing
if
you're doing anything poorly for a minute, it's a really long time.
And so they think that their joke was longer than a minute, but they're like, oh no, that was it. And so they get destroyed and they kind of just have to sit there and the comedians are like, what do you do for a living? And they, they'll tell them what they do. And sometimes they'll be like, well, maybe you should just stick to that more thing. And because and it's just a destruction zone. And I was like, look at this. This is ridiculous. And something dawned on me and it said, I said, because I was laughing at the comedians too. And something in my brain said, these people are getting in front of some of their favorite comedians and bombing. Steve, when is the last time you did something that brave in your life? Jeez Louise, dude.
Well, don't beat yourself up, man. You push yourself out weekly. You know what I mean?
I mean,
you're always talking about yourself.
But that's not brave. Like, I'm doing something that the things I do in front of people, I know I'm good at a certain point. But there was never a time I would have got in front of my favorite musician and just played a song that I just wrote. That's what they're doing. That is crazy. I was like, I need to do more brave things. And that starts by doing the bare minimum.
Hypothetical situation. Like, let's say you met Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
And you just happen to be in a room where there's a piano. And he said, well, let's see what you got, man. Would you do it?
After this week, yeah. Before, no way.
Before this week.
Oh, not a chance. Because I'd be like, Stevie, sir, I'm sorry, but you wrote Ribbon in the Sky. You wrote songs. I can't do this. My favorite songs of all time came from your brain. I can't now sit down and, even though chances are he loves music so much that he'd find something wonderful in whatever. He'd be like, I really liked that whatever it was. That's really good. But I'm thinking in my brain, oh, he's going to, like, I don't even know what I think he'd say. Would he be like, get up and be like, go back to work, you suck at music, thank you for your time? I mean, he's not going to do that. Worst case scenario, he's just going to be like, you know, you need to work on the chorus isn't catchy enough, this isn't catchy. All the best musicians, like I was taught when I was going to, when someone was like, hey, I want you to teach my child how to play the keys. I was like, I don't know if I could teach. Someone said, if you don't know how to teach, you don't know anything. You don't, wait, how does it go? It's a saying something like, you're not really good at what you do unless you could teach it to someone else. Because if you can't teach it to someone else, you don't really know what you're doing. You don't. You just know some cheat codes, but the only way you know if you're great at what you do is if you can actually impart that knowledge into someone else. You could break it down to its bare minimum and then build it from there. Otherwise, you just know surface level stuff. Like what you do for a living, you could break it down to the bare bones. Whereas your friend who's going to school right now, when that person comes out, she couldn't teach somebody. She just doesn't know it well enough. Whereas you could be like, all right, let me show you how to do this thing.
That one might be able to. You know what
so?
Well, look who we're talking about.
Yeah, but you know.
No, I get your point completely.
Yeah,
dude.
you
I
know
what
the
you're saying.
specifics. Like if you're like, if I said, I don't know how to make this machine do that, and I can't remember how the book says to do it, you would be able to say, skip the book. Here's an easy way to remember how to do that thing. Whereas people coming out of school only know the book way. That's how it's going. For me, I'd be like, they say, I don't know how to play in the key of C sharp minor. I'd be like, all right, take C sharp minor out of your brain and play an E. And they'll be like, oh, okay. But some people that just came out of school would be like, well, you're just going to have to learn C sharp minor and deal with life. And I'd be like, no, you don't, because that crap sucks. Here's how you remember how to play it, you know? And so I need to, my main thing is trying to get out of my bubble and start from the bare minimum and start being like, when someone says, hey, you should come to this thing this weekend, instead of being like, no, I'm not, I'm going to say, you know what? I will, unless something comes up, and truthfully say, I'm going to go. And if something comes up, I can't go. But if nothing comes up, I'll go, even if it's for a half an hour. I'll go, show up, say, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it, and leave. Like when I went to that event, everybody was saying, I can't believe you're here.
You walked in and you heard numerous voices go,
exactly. Like people walked up, they're like, oh my gosh, he came out of the cave. Holy cow. And I was
that's
like,
good
damn.
though, man. You know what? Here's your situation. And I'm very similar to that, by the way. But you're a man that's on his own. You lead a single life. You know what I mean? And so as long as you're getting out enough, I think you're doing okay. But if you do say no to everything, which I know you don't say no to everything.
Oh, I say no to a lot, bro.
Well, okay.
It's pretty pathetic.
I know. But you don't want to be like a recluse.
Exactly. But even if I stay in the house, there's a thing you asked me a while ago. You were like, hey, I'm going to be interviewing this person. And it was automatic. I'm cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't a, how do I go about making this happen?
Thank you for bringing that up, because that really was in the back of my mind. I'm not lying to you.
In the circle of things in my brain, it went from I'm cool. And then, Steve, how do you make an excuse to make this harder than it is? Because if I make it harder than it is, then even you will be like, yeah, that is kind of difficult, isn't it? But it starts at no, then, okay, what reasons is it a no? Oh, because it would be easier if we were together, and we're not going to probably be together because we have such a weird schedule. Chances are he's going to schedule the interview on this day, and I got to work. There's no way I'm going to get over there. It's just way easier. And then the weird breaks in conversation. It's easier if one person's talking.
Yeah, you map it all out before anything happens.
Easily. But if I start at a yes, now I have to convince myself into a no.
Now you just have to slowly work your way back to a no, right?
But yes, if it's yes and it's a good idea,
yeah,
it's hard to convince yourself into a no without knowing you're a fraud.
Well, without getting into it, because I do like to keep surprises, keep things, on the down low. Don't you think this is a good idea? It will only help us out.
The interview's a great idea. And
you know what I mean?
And the thing, all it is it's just in my brain, it's one less thing I have to do.
Right.
Whereas everything I do in that situation where I'm like, someone will be like, no, you're coming. Then I go. When I go, I'm like, you know what? That was freaking awesome. Why did I not want to go to that thing? And I guarantee after the interview, I'd be like, you know what, dude? That was fun than a mug. And you just never know what happens. You never know what someone says when they leave. You never know what someone says to their friends, being like, I've gone on a lot of interviews, but the most fun I've had, you just never know. And it's like little drops like that, it's little things like that that sprinkle throughout that you're like, oh, you know what? I need to start making, the only way to make a splash is to say yes to things, is to actually say, you know what? I'm going to give that a try. The only thing you have in anything is your reputation. If you never know who says what to someone about you, and next thing you know, you're somewhere. I mean, even if you like around town, I'll get a call. I got a call last Christmas, and she's like, "Hi, I forgot her name, from Clovis. I'm having an event."
You went automatic nope.
My thought was no.
You heard Clovis. That's all you heard.
Oh, dude. And so she's like, I'm having an event, and I called someone. I mean, a person I haven't talked to in years. They're like, who's a person on the keys that you know? And he said my name. I'm like, you know what? Though, what could happen on a bigger scale than that? Like, what if one day the people we interview, someone's like, hey, we're trying to go to a lesser known, something that's not so obvious. Where do you think, is there anybody and who knows if the person was like, you know what? There's a really fun few dudes that would, they're really fun. They have a good time. And they don't just talk about bull crap. Whereas, let's say you did it alone. You killed it. And now it's a situation he's like, oh, dude, it's a guy that's really great. And so next time I decide okay, let's do it. Now it's a different pod. They come on and they're like, this is not the one that we came to first. It's a different podcast now. Whereas if I said yes, now they know exactly everything changed. It's a little ripple that changes everything.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a little ripple that changes everything. Whereas they're like, we kind of wanted it this way. Well, I'm here now. But like, yeah, but that's not what we wanted. It was a one-on-one when I was referring this podcast. Not saying it would be a bad thing, but that's what he had in his brain when he sent, you know what I'm saying? And
sure.
It's little ripples like that I'm just like, well, what else that I said no to? What would have happened if I can go back in time, said, what if you would have went to that event? What would have happened there? And maybe it's nothing, or maybe I run into someone who's knows this person and a random person that knows this person. You just never know what butterfly effect it ends up happening. So
you never know until you try, Steve.
Until you try. And I just decided I'm going to stop saying like some things I'm going to say no to. Like just like with you, if you had, your family and there was a good opportunity, you're like, I'm sorry, but I'm going somewhere with my family. I would love to do it, but I'm going somewhere. Or so if I'm chilling with my son and, we're watching The Jerk he still needs to watch it for the first time. And we're watching it and someone's like, hey, great opportunity. We have an interview. I would have to say, right now, we're doing a family heirloom and I can't leave. I wouldn't even answer the phone. Whereas if I'm sitting there playing video games with him and, we're just he's on his phone kind of in between matches and someone's like, hey, we have a thing that is really Stevie Wonder's coming to town or some silliness. I wouldn't be like, oh, you know what? Dang, I'm chilling right now. No, it's like, okay, or whoever. It's like, you know what? I'll be right back. My grown almost son. I will return in a few hours. I got to go do this thing. He'll be like, okay, I'll be here playing video games when you get back. Whereas I would have just used, I'm playing video games with my son. He could not bear to be without me right now. It's really bonding time. I'm making that a thing.
Yeah, if you tell me that, I'm going to call bullshit.
Yes, because I'm like, bonding
your kid's
time,
a man.
He is a man now. Whereas
if
I told you, hey, Dan, we're having a little bit of talk about college, then you'd be like, oh, dude, yeah, that's a talk you got to have. But if I'm just like, we're watching Nacho Libre, you would be able to say, Steve, I know you've seen that movie. You and him have seen that movie 128 times. Why don't you want to do this for real?
Well, first I'd say, why the fuck are you watching Nacho Libre? That's what I would say first.
First of all, that's a great movie. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. Dude.
Really? I'm not judging you. I had really
I watched it once years
now.
ago. Well, I'm talking about when I was like 20. I forgot how old I was, but I watched it years ago and it wasn't funny. And then my son and I, when he was like 7 or 8, started watching it, and we would die laughing. And it slowly grew into, now we could quote the movie.
You know what happened to me the other day?
What was that?
I discovered that this is just my opinion, of course, that Jim Carrey is very dated. A certain part of Jim Carrey's like career, like for instance,
tell me, go on.
I watched Liar Liar. Dude, I couldn't take it.
Dan.
I couldn't do. When's the last time you saw Liar Liar?
About 10 years ago.
Yeah, watch that motherfucker now. It's not the same, dude.
Okay, wait. I have it in my brain. What part is dated?
All of it. I'm talking about
his over the top thing.
He's too over the top. Yeah, yeah,
so
it's too much.
Ace Ventura is dated?
Well, that's different because it's Ace Ventura. It's a thing in itself. You know what I mean? But Liar Liar is the story of a lawyer that just can't. It's one of those classic kind of, even though it came out in the 90s, I believe it's the 90s, maybe it's even 2000s. But that classic story of, oh, I wish my dad would do something, blow out the candle, and the next day he wakes up and you know the story. It's Liar Liar is what I'm getting at. But
this is shocking, dude.
It's really not that shocking. Like if you watch this movie, you're going to see what I'm talking about. Yeah. I was watching it with Gail and we loved that movie. We went and saw it and I remember laughing my ass off watching this movie. Yes. You're talking, trust me, you're talking to a guy that used to be a big fan. I'm still a fan.
Yeah.
But I loved the movie. I've seen it multiple times. I said, I'm going to throw this on. We were just sitting there, nothing was on. And about maybe 15 to 20 minutes into it, we looked at each other. And we're like, really? Are you enjoying this?
Now you got me worried. I think I might have to.
The expiration date has passed, my friend.
Uh-oh, pause. Okay, this was a brief pause. It was a little glitch in the Matrix real quick. Sorry, guys. Now.
All the ones and zeros disappeared.
Yes. And so I had to listen back to my audio. And guys, I'm a loud person, turns out, because I almost blew my eardrum. I mean, Dan, my eardrums almost blew because I have my... And I only have my earphone level like halfway. And my ears, when I started being like, Dan, I was like, holy crap. Jeez Louise. Okay, anyway.
I was coming in hot too, though. So I'm glad that you pointed that out because I brought my levels down a little bit too.
I got to chill. Oh, but after this conversation. So, Dan, you were saying that Ace Ventura. Now, please tell the audience. Liar Liar.
More specifically.
I'm sorry. Jim Carrey's Liar Liar is not as good as it used to be, as it was when you first watched it. But you specifically said the court scene when he tells them, tell the audience what you said. That was a little that you think is
no. That I don't know. I said where I stopped. That's where I stopped the movie because I couldn't watch it anymore. But it wasn't necessarily that. I had just had enough at that point.
But you
don't have to agree with me, people. This is just my opinion. And they're like assholes. We all know what those do. And it's like, I just didn't feel it anymore. However, I was watching a movie last night while I was editing the other show. So I wasn't watching it. But, oh God, what was it called? Jim Carrey plays a gay guy and
I now no, that's not it. It's with Ewan McGregor.
Yes, that's the one. It looked crazy.
In prison. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked really
crazy.
That's a good
movie, dude.
I'm going to go back and watch it again because it just
movie.
looked so crazy. Gail was really into it, but I was just so focused on editing that I didn't really pay that much attention. But just watching his actions and everything, I don't mind Jim Carrey. Again, I'm a fan of Jim Carrey. It's just, I don't know, there's just certain things that I can't watch anymore, and that would definitely be one of them. Now I kind of want to go back and see, like if the other ones are still that way, with the exception of, say, Ace Ventura. What's the other one? The Mask, of course.
Oh, dude. The Mask. Come on, man.
But any of his dramatic stuff, I'm cool with. I'll watch that.
Okay, I got a question for you.
What up?
Tangentially. What's your favorite Jim Carrey movie?
You got me on the spot, my brother. Let's see. I really like The Truman Show.
That's a darn
I think that's
good
a great
movie.
Dude. Yeah, it's really good. But I would have to say that's just the one that I'm, however. Dumb and Dumber might be my favorite.
Dude.
That movie is classic. And that's the thing. I don't mind that kind of over the top because the character is already over the top. I just had a problem with trying to okay. And granted, this is a comedy, I guess.
Yes.
But if I was in the courtroom, I'd be like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? You know what? Just watch the movie because I'm not going to be able to really defend myself here. I'm just telling you that it didn't hit me right. You ever eat something? You eat it a bunch of times. It's wonderful. You eat it one time. You're like, you know what? I don't think I like that anymore. I think
for sure.
It too much.
Because I overdid it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well then in that case, what about this? Do you think that, because Dumb and Dumber is an over the top character too. Do you think that is going to hold up for you on another watch?
Still does.
Wait.
I don't know what it is. That movie just... I'm not talking about Jim Carrey as a person. He's a fucking asshole.
No, I know.
I hate him. He's a hack. No. I'm just saying that movie just didn't do it for me.
But they're kind of in the same general vicinity, though.
Yeah, but we're dealing with, an attorney. Again, it's all about suspension of disbelief. If I'm able to just go, it's just Jim Carrey, I can watch the movie just fine. But I'm telling you that watching Liar Liar just didn't cut it for me anymore. There's a lot of tropes in that movie I don't like. Even as kid. Remember that 80s and 90s haircut that every kid had?
Totally.
I'm already out. As soon as I saw the haircut, I'm like, oh shit,
I'm done.
I know where we are.
Well, here's a question.
It's that Joey Lawrence used to have that haircut.
Here's a question. More of a statement. It's a question. Would you say that you're more into Jim Carrey when he's playing someone else because you like him in The Mask, which is someone else?
They're all someone else.
Well, I'm saying
every single movie he makes is someone else.
In the movie, he actually is someone. He's not playing a series like in Man on the Moon. He's playing someone else.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
In Mask, he transforms into someone else. In Liar Liar, something happens where he can't be himself. Dumb and Dumber, he's a different human being, really. There's nothing where the only thing where he has to do acting chops is probably The Truman Show. That's the one where he had to be just an actor. Well, I mean, all of them have to be actors, but it's kind of more, it's the closest thing to a person that he's played. Would you say so? And the one that you were talking about with Ewan McGregor.
No, dude, I'll just simplify it. It's just that movie. Like I didn't take that much time to really. Wow, I'm still coming in hot. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that.
No problem.
There we go. I didn't really put that much thought into it, dude. I'm just telling you that I watched Liar Liar and I wasn't feeling it anymore. Now I could go back and write a whole thesis on it or something like that if you'd like to have me do so. But
I would love a thesis, actually.
I bet you would, you ass. No, I'm just kidding. I just no, man, I just wasn't feeling it anymore. But I'm not here to knock Jim Carrey. I'm here to have some fun, dude.
Well, note to self. Note to self. Next time I have a Liar Liar listening party.
You have a lot of those, do you?
Yeah. Oh, dude. I have a ton of them. And now you're not invited. You now can't give me a yes when you could have been, so now you can't say yes to that thing like we were just talking about.
Fair enough.
All right. And by the way, that movie is called I Love You, Philip Morris.
Yes, that's the one.
Yes. I didn't want to leave the listeners thinking that we're just sitting here just bull crapping. Anyway,
we're totally bull crapping right now, and I don't mind it, man. It's kind of nice.
Before we get into the good stuff, I know you want to give out some contact information after that wonderful intro because we haven't seen y'all in 5 weeks. What do you expect us to do? Just sit here and just talk? Come on, man. We haven't seen our beautiful, awesome, and amazing audience members in a very long time. So we want to let you know how to get in contact with us.
Damn right we do, Steve. All right, let's do it. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, what is happening? Welcome back to the show. You are listening to the Heroes of Noise. This is not a drill, and I welcome you. If you want to get a hold of the show, please hit us up at heroesofnoisepodcast@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Twitter at Heroes of Noise, myself, Dan, at DanQPublic, and my buddy Steve over there, Mr. I Love Liar Liar, at SE_Hudson Music. What else can we do here? You know what? We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. Just look up Heroes of Noise Podcast. But you can get all of this at www.heroesofnoise.com. Check out the site. We're working on it. I'm getting ready to go. Oh, by the way, Steve, didn't even tell you yet. I'm ready to go into the land of WordPress now. So it's going to be looking pretty zazzy by the time we're done. Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. I got a lot of... I'm telling you, I'm bored. I'm bored, so I want to do this stuff. But anyway, yeah, so heroesofnoise.com. It's going to be looking sharp. I'm telling you. Sharp as a fucking tack. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe to the show. Subscribe to our other show, too, guys. Do you like Preacher? Because we do a show about Preacher. AMC comes on Sundays at 10 p.m. If you're lucky and you got the good cable, it comes on at 7 if you're on the Pacific side of things. But we do a show called The Word, the unofficial Preacher podcast, where we break down the show week to week and compare it directly to the comics. So, hop in. Maybe you're going to find something that you really like if you're not familiar with it. It's a great fucking show, and they're having the best season yet. You can find us at heroesofnoise.com. And, while you're there, subscribe to the show. Give us a 5-star review if you can. We would really appreciate that. And just know that you can hit us up and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube. We're pretty much everywhere, guys. That's pretty much it for now. There is one more thing. I'm working on a voicemail, so we should have something hopefully by next week. And actually, we already have it. I just have to figure out how to use the damn thing. And I'll talk about that on the next show. Sir, back to you.
So, in your time that you've been at home,
convalescing,
that was actually the word I was looking for. Thank you so very much. You've had some time to watch a few things, Dan. I assume you've had some time to watch. You've watched a bunch. Give us a few of those. Tell us how you liked them, and hopefully one of those things isn't Liar Liar.
Watched a bunch, but I'm only talking about a few today. See, guys, guess what? I'm going on vacation, so I don't have a lot of time. Yeah. We're going to be doing a little shorter show. I wanted to do a big old 4-hour banger, but I just don't have the time for it today because we got shit to do. So I'm going to give you a taste of what I've been dealing with over the last couple of weeks.
Let's do it.
All right, Steve, so I'm getting ready to start up here, and I'm curious about something.
Mm-hmm.
Did you, as a little kid, as a little Stevie, did you watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
I don't think you could have avoided it back in the day. It was hard to avoid. Yeah, it was one of those things where it would just come on because we only had how many channels, and one of those because I was on PBS, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I used to watch Channel 8. I used to watch it. Yeah.
And did you gain anything from the inside of Fred Rogers? Here's the answer. You did. I guarantee you did.
No, there's no question. Mind you, look, I have everyone take their shoes off before they come in my house. How do I know it's not from that show? Because I know my mom and dad never did it. I have people taking their shoes off before I get before they come in my house. Also,
well, now I feel like a heel because I didn't take my shoes off.
I think you did.
I guarantee you I didn't.
Okay, well, I got to remember that next time.
Yeah, next time.
But
maybe you were just being polite.
I probably was, and also it's a weird thing because I need to get some people. I've been to some houses where they have booties that you can put on, and I was like, "That's really a smart." She's like, and the person was like, "Yeah," because a lot of people they're not prepared. They have to prepare themselves not to take off their shoes, dude. A lot of people have to prepare themselves. They've been walking around kind of barefoot all day. They're like, "Oh my god." Yeah, so they're like, if you give them booties, everything's fine. They feel great. So I have them right there. But I might have gotten that from Mr. Rogers. And I remember him being just so unbelievably over the top kind. But it was a kind time. Because there was also Sesame Street that taught you how to be kind to people. So it was he was just another kind soul on TV. PBS was a kind channel.
Yeah, it was a kinder time. But you also have to consider that everything wasn't at your reach. You can see what's going on in the world just by opening up Twitter.
That's true.
And these days, I actually got away from Facebook and, back then when it was like back in the old days, when it was MySpace, I got away from each of those platforms because of ignorance. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But now, maybe it was always there, but because that's like my main place I go.
Yes.
It's, and I guess it really just depends on what you subscribe to. Who you follow, I should say. But it's nasty. It's nasty right now.
When you were a child, did you often watch? Were you a person that watched it when did it come?
Yes, getting back to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, it was a daily thing. Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd go over to my grandma's house, and she wasn't like a TV babysitter, but I got down with some Fred Rogers, so I watched it all the time. Loved it. So, on that note, the first thing I'm going to talk about that I watched was something that's been out for a while, but I haven't talked about it yet, so I'm going to tell you guys what I think, and it's Won't You Be My Neighbor, which is the documentary about Fred Rogers. Dude, this is a beautiful movie. This is probably... I'm going to tell you this right now. Fred Rogers was a fucking superhero. You know what I mean? He really was. And I'm going to explain why in just a little bit about this guy. But so to me, this is like the most solid superhero movie there was, man. This dude, I came out of this movie, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. I have been known to shed a tear at movies. You know what I mean? It just depends on what it is, but it's not my normal behavior that I do, but it happens from time to time, especially as I get older. I came out of this movie with eyes wet, not like crying. They were like happy tears or yeah, I guess they would be called happy tears. It wasn't a sad thing.
Yes.
But just legitimate tears flowing down my face. This is what this movie did to me. And it's not like my normal behavior. I defy you. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you right now, you go out in this movie and you come out and your eyes are dry, you're a terrible person. Or you're just way tougher than I am. Where did I see it? I saw it at our. We live in Fresno. I saw it at Edwards Theater.
They had it at Edwards, huh?
I believe it's still there.
I didn't know. Well, then I gotta go. I thought that you had to like go to like Clovis, and you know me and Clovis, and so I thought you were
so far.
I thought you were gonna go. I thought you had to go over there because we don't have a lot of. But then again, Edwards has been doing really good with independent films lately.
Yeah, they've done quite a few of them lately.
Nice.
This one is something that my wife and I caught, and
how'd she do?
Oh, she was crying. She's a mess anyway in movies. She cries all the time. But dude, I'm telling you, this is definitely worth some tears.
That is really awesome.
Yeah, and the movie's just as awesome. This movie covers the life and legacy of Fred Rogers, and as we just said, he hosted Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. There's a lot of things I didn't know about him. I knew that he had some musical talent, but this movie really displayed his musical
Dude, that
ability.
dude could play.
He was great
He
on the
could
piano.
play, G.
Yeah.
Legit.
It was really cool to see him, because it's a documentary, so you're seeing another side of him that's not projected through the, the neighborhood of make-believe. And there's just a lot I learned about him, man. Do you recall one of his main characters, little puppets that he used to use? Daniel the Lion. Do you remember Daniel the Lion?
Yes.
Well, what this movie ends up saying is that it more or less is a representation of Fred Rogers' inner self. Mostly like his childhood, because he grew up, he was kind of a little bit of a chubby kid, didn't have a lot of friends, graduated from Pittsburgh Theological Seminary.
Holy cow.
Yeah, dude, he was on track to be a Protestant minister.
I see.
Did I say that right?
Protestant? I see that. Protestant. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it didn't sound right when I said it, but that's what he was. He was on track to do so. I think he might have actually even been ordained, but he fell in love with television. He at the time that he was graduating high school and getting ready to go to college, he fell in love with this new concept of television, and he just knew that that's what he wanted to do. So he chose to use his gift and his love for. He always was one to advocate for children. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm not going to compare the two, but you know how Michael Jackson had that inner child all the time? No jokes. Yes. I'm just telling you, he had an inner childness about him. That was definitely there. He was in touch with that himself, but it just projected differently. You know what I mean? He didn't. Well, I mean, listen, you know as well as I do that I'm a huge fan of Michael Jackson.
Yes.
I thought he was weird. He just had very weird behavior.
The thing is, the way he was raised, if he would have grown up, if he would have ended up normal, I would have been like, wait, how? Well, then again, no, all the Jacksons are different. So never mind.
They're all different, man. So,
different
so I'm not here to knock on the Jacksons, but what I'm saying is they kind of had that similarity where they had this inner child that they chose to express through art.
Yes.
Is a good way of putting it, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah, that'll work for me. But yeah, he was able to do these things without conveying his message of religion. He didn't preach.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, was he a religious guy even till the end?
Yeah, he was.
Oh my goodness, I did not know that.
Yeah, he was, but he didn't. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't something that he was just constantly, throwing at people or trying to get. He wasn't preaching all the time. He just used that to sort of guide him through life and shape him as the man that he became.
That is a cool thing.
But yeah, man, it's just it talks about his early career. I believe it's been a while since I've seen this, guys, but I believe that the show that he started off with was called The Neighborhood, and it was just a PBS thing, and PBS at that time didn't really have a lot of funding. I'll get to that in just a moment, but it shows this one particular part. Once he creates Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which ran from 1968 to 2001, I believe.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a career.
Is a run. Do it 33 years, G?
Yeah, man. I didn't realize it was that long, but he did it. I like that. Golly!
Golly! Where's he from?
Where was he from? He was from...
Southern, no?
No. Pittsburgh, I believe.
Wow, what an interesting accent he had. Or affect, maybe.
It was an affect, for sure.
Okay.
And I think that was that gentle side of him again. You know what I mean?
Did he ever get married?
Yeah, he was married, and they interviewed his wife, actually. Dude. The documentary features among, his, not only including his wife, Joanne Rogers, but David Newell's in it, who played Mr. McFeely. Remember him? Speedy Delivery. Speedy Delivery. Yeah, he's in it.
Dude.
Still alive. Yeah. Joe Negri, who played Handyman Negri, is in it. And then an interesting part, and they showed him quite a bit, was Francois Scarborough Clemens. Do you know who that is?
I do not know who that is.
This is, I'm going to come back to him, but very interesting. He played Officer Clemens on the show. He was a Broadway singer, I believe. And he got onto the Mr. Rogers show, and he was a gay man. So this guy had a couple of things, considering the time that it
Oh,
was,
man.
that were working against him
Yes.
for the fact that he was a homosexual
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that he was black.
Yes.
And he was dealing with racism. And then at that time, they're showing all of this footage of, of the times that they were in. Lots of, rioting and racism and war and, just feeling different.
Yes.
Death, divorce. I guess what I'm saying is they didn't show all these things, but that's what the show talked about.
Yes.
That's how, Mr. Rogers was really good about bringing those real issues, real life issues, and talking about them to kids, and teaching them not to feel bad about these things, teaching them to understand it, where a lot of adults couldn't do that kind of thing.
Yes.
Even parents didn't really know it. They would shield their kids from that kind of thing. Whereas Mr. Rogers took that first person approach to be like, yeah, well, you're feeling different, but, and he'd have all these songs to, the songs that he did were a little on the, like, if you were just to take them at face value, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. It's just another kid's song. But you have to consider the times that he was singing these things to these kids. There's one episode where he talked about the Vietnam War. That's some heavy shit for a kid. Yeah, and again, divorce and death. The pets, your pets die, parents die, friends die. There was this one episode. Yeah, there was this one episode about racism. Now going back to Francois Scarborough Clemens, where Officer Clemens walks up to Mr. Rogers in his backyard or on the studio set, and you know how, like, I'm sure you remember this, but do you remember that one particular? It's actual footage of, there's a black family, and I believe it's in the 60s, and they're at a hotel swimming pool.
Oh yeah,
and and that guy pours bleach or whatever it is, pours chlorine into the pool to get him out, right? So they showed that scene. So that was, I think he was inspired directly from that. So getting back to his episode, he's sitting there, Officer Clemens walks up to him in his backyard, and he's got like a little wading pool, and Mr. Rogers is in the pool with bare feet, washing his feet, as he says. I'm just cooling off, washing my feet. So he's like, would you like to share? So that was his way of kind of like, focusing on, yeah, it's normal
right there.
Yeah, it's normal and healthy for people to, share each other and to share experiences and not have that divide of skin color. You know what I mean? It's all shit that we all.
Amazing. Now, did
a couple years ago I would have said everyone knows that, but I know that's not the case.
No,
anymore, but yes.
Did Mr. Rogers know that he was gay?
It never came out that he was gay until later on, but I think he just sort of knew, and he just told him, like, let's not advertise this just yet. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, let's keep you safe. Let's keep our show safe so we can continue to pass this message on, but let's not do that just yet. And Francois Clemens did mention that he was kind of taken aback by that at first, but eventually down the line, I don't remember exactly how long it was, because at one point he was actually married on the show. Like, not on the show, in real life, he was married. And there was an episode where he had Francois Clemens and his wife on the show. That didn't last very long for obvious reasons. So when he eventually did come out, he's like, yeah, I forgot how he put it, man. It was actually really beautiful what he told him. And I'm sorry, guys, seriously, it's been like probably 3 weeks since I've seen this. But he told him, like, yeah, I always knew, and I always had your back. And I was just, I just was trying to protect you. And I'm totally missing the mark of what he was saying. But what he told him about that is like, yeah, I always knew. I've always loved you. You're just, we just had to wait. You know what I mean? And do this when the time was right for your sake. It was really beautiful what he told him. And I really did not do that justice. But that was one of the more moving parts of the movie for me. He was just a beautiful person, dude. I did not know how beautiful he was. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about the scene that really there was two scenes that really, really got me. Now, this is something, guys, that I would highly recommend you check this out on YouTube. Matter of fact, when I got home that night, I watched the full version of it, and I think it's only like maybe 20 minutes long. But there's a point where PBS is, like I said before, they were low on funding, and they were seeking a grant. So they had to go to the Senate hearing. And there was this guy, I don't know if you're familiar with Senator John Pastore. Do you remember him? It was a long, long time ago. But this guy was like a notorious hard ass. And it's this beautiful scene of Mr. Rogers sitting down and, he's in the hearing basically. And he's like, I'm seeking funding for this show. I advocate for children. And he just starts talking about his show. And you're watching this hard ass John Pastore like melt right in front of him. And he's talking about how, I believe in advocating for children. And, when kids feel different, they shouldn't feel different about it. And I sing these songs to them. And he's like, he said, but it would take me like 10 minutes to really give you my whole entire, he said, I have something written up, but it would take me like 10 minutes to give this to you. And he's like, well, do you want to go ahead and read it? He's like, no, that's okay. I'll just go ahead and, give you some highlights of it. So he's talking about his beliefs and how he feels strongly about PBS needing the funding and advocating for children. And again, you're just watching this guy. Everything, like normally he would just shut people down. You know what I mean? But with him, he's like, well, yeah, please tell me more. And he's like, well, I'm certainly going to be watching this now. And within about 20 minutes, which of course they had this completely edited, Fred Rogers single-handedly won $20 million of funding for PBS because of the speech that he gave to Congress. It was beautiful. It was like so awesome. That was the scene where I went, oh, like Fred Rogers is no joke. This is where I started to realize, like, oh, I'm going to pay even more attention to this movie now because this dude is he's phenomenal. There's another part where during the peak of the Vietnam War, he used the neighborhood of make-believe, as he called it, to address political issues and discuss like tearing down walls. Like he was ahead of his time.
Of course.
And what was his name? It was King Friday the 13th. Do you remember him? King Friday the 13th. Well, he was like the king.
He
was the king puppet.
The king. I didn't know. I didn't know that was the name though.
Yeah, King Friday the 13th.
Okay.
But King Friday the 13th was more of like, people are different. Let's put up walls and keep people out. And he used this neighborhood to like, to break this down. What was the other lady's name that was in it? He used to have a big old crush on her. She's like 70 something years old now. But Lady Aberlin, I think her name was. But she was acting out this skill with them basically and Handyman Negri. And they're just talking about how there should be no walls. And I think this went on for like maybe a couple of episodes. But eventually what comes out is, the King Friday comes to this understanding that, yes, you're right. There shouldn't be walls. Knock them all down. And it's just relevant today. That's why I think that they put that in there, to be quite honest with you. But it was very, very ahead of its time. What else can I talk about on this one, man? I don't want to talk too much about it because some of these things I think need to be seen without my interpretation of them. There was this other part. It got me, man. He had this family wrote into him, and they said that we have a handicapped son. He's a huge fan of your show, and we'd like to have him on. And we don't really know how long he's going to be around for. He was severely like deformed and he was in a wheelchair, but he had all of his wits about him, but he just wasn't a healthy kid. So Mr. Rogers did this whole segment with him, and that's when the water started coming out of my eyes, man, because he's like singing this song with this kid.
Oh, it's over.
And then the kid starts singing along.
Nope.
It was this really beautiful thing. But what was even more beautiful about it was years down the road, I'm talking maybe 20 years down the road, something like that, when Mr. Rogers is inducted into the TV Hall of Fame, they bring this kid back on stage, and they have this emotional reunion. I'm just fucking crying.
Oh, no,
like
I'm going to sit in the back. I'm just going to sit in the back.
Yeah, sit in the back, dude. That's what I did for sure. I always sit in the back, but that time I was really glad I did.
Well, I remember hearing someone was talking about it, and they said, as soon as the music started in the beginning, they were done.
Yes, it's true. As soon as you hear
Mind you, they weren't even looking forward to it. They just said, let me just sit in here and just watch it. They said as soon as the music started for Mr. Rogers, everyone in the theater started taking Kleenexes. I think it's the time, dude. I really think it has to do with right now.
You're right. It's right now. And I think that the world needs a Fred Rogers.
Okay, think about it in the context of right now. Fred Rogers talked about breaking down walls and advocating for children. Where right now we're building walls and taking children away from their parents and putting them into cages.
And he was also addressing racism.
Dude.
And yeah, I mean, it's just...
This
movie needed to come out.
Dude, I don't think people are... and I think the people that... obviously, when you're doing a Mr. Rogers documentary, you're not planning on where the world is.
Sure.
But you know that no matter where the world is, it could use a Mr. Rogers. However, right now, this very second, I need to go see it because there's times where I wake up and I'm just like, it used to be, oh my gosh, this happened. And now it's just like, again.
Oh, this happened again? Yeah, I know.
Again. And so I just like, I need something for 2 hours just to be like, oh, that's right. These things can happen. These things happen all the time. And so that's what I really want to, I got to go watch it in the movie theater, dude. You're giving it a 10 out of 10, it sounds like.
I'm giving it a 12 out of 10, man. Just a couple more things. But I did want to say, and obviously this wasn't the kind of term that they were throwing around back then, but Fred Rogers was woke as fuck. You know what I mean? Like he he was just he had his finger on the pulse of society. He was just watching it from his perspective and doing what he could to fix it. Politics in a show like this is really a death nail, and I do try to avoid that, guys, from time to time. But I am very curious if Fred Rogers was alive right now and still advocating, what he'd be saying. Because he would. I guarantee you, he would have addressed it if he was young enough to do so. Like, he would be addressing this whole thing. Not that he would change anything, but maybe he would. I don't know. But I think that children would definitely have a better understanding of what's going on, as opposed to being in their rooms, playing with whatever they're playing with, and listening to their parents freak out or watching the news. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think the good thing is the children are way more, it's good and bad, because children are way more aware of what's happening, which makes it hard, because that means they're way more able to choose a side early.
Yeah, they're aware of what's happening, though, Steve, but I don't think that they can comprehend.
Oh no, they can. Well, I think the best. I wouldn't say that. Never mind. Let me change that.
Like, here's an example of what I'm talking about. You see these crazy people that are out, protesting.
Yes.
Something just hateful. Let's just say something hateful. Like, what's that, Westboro Baptist Church or something like that? Let's just use that as an example.
Yes.
And you see these little kids there that are holding up signs that say God hates fags or something like that. These little kids don't know this.
No.
They're just doing what their parents are telling them to do. And that's what's really horrific, you know what I mean? And again, granted, I don't imagine that these parents would allow their kids to watch something like that, hypothetically, if it was still around. But it would be a fantastic outlet for someone like Fred Rogers to be able to, explain these things to these kids and allow them to make their own decisions, whether or not they were truly allowed to or not. You know what I mean?
I think, and the good thing is, in my opinion, well, no, it's not an opinion. We're going to outnumber them very soon, in the next decade or two. It's going to be not even close. It's not even going to be close. One can only hope. And I think our children's generation are going to see a different time. I mean, because even, I think that this is crazy until, like, I'm at a service and I'm talking to a black grandmother, and she's just like, boy, this has happened before. We've done it, been there, and got the t-shirt. What y'all are dealing with isn't game changing at all for us. You know what I'm saying? This is something
it's just
shocking to us. And
it's a reawakening of something that should have never been awakened.
I will I hope that we do get even though it will be hard today, and like today, if someone started being a Mr. Rogers type, someone might be like, you're ignoring how horrible the world is. You're doing a pie in the sky thing. However, I think for children, they need to see that kindness and love so that they can be like, I don't know what's going on across the street with those signs, but I know that that's not right, because they've been raised and they've been watching this and been around this love, that they're like, this isn't right. I don't know what they're picketing, but I know those signs and what they're standing for is just wrong. So I'm not going to be part of that. And you want it to be intrinsic, like inside them. The internal moral compass is saying, I'm not sure which side is the right side, but I do know that that's the wrong side. So I'm going to stick around here right now. I don't know what's going on, but because right now they're just like, we have children that we don't really teach anything to, as far a lot of times. We don't tell them the reality of the world. And so they go to college and they're like, okay, who makes the best argument, and I'll join your club. That's not how you do it.
Right.
You don't want, you join a crazy freaking, a crazy group because their leader just happens to argue better than the other. You don't want that. You want someone to be like, oh, I don't need to hear your argument. Next question. I don't even need to hear you talk. I know what group I'm not going to be part of. And I think that's the thing Fred Rogers gave. He gave a group of children the ability to say, I don't need to hear the other side's argument. I don't, because I know where it's coming from. I don't know. Man, kindness is for him to tackle certain subject matter and do it in the guise of, not even a guy, it's real. Do it under the
totally real.
He's just a kind person. If you don't mind me asking, how did he pass away? Was it natural causes?
I believe he had cancer. I was literally trying to look that up right now because I wanted to talk about that, but I believe it was cancer that got him. He ends up getting sick at towards the end of the movie. And I will try to find that as we're talking here, but Were you going somewhere before I continue?
No, I just wanted to know how I never knew. I just remember I remember him passing away and it being like, oh, that's freaking sad. I remember being like, oh, man. Even though, again, I'll admit it wasn't a daily view for me, only because of what I watched every day. Well, I think, I was watching like, Good Times and What's Happening and, stuff like that. But also, I'd occasionally watch Mr. Rogers. And I knew that he held a great place in my heart, because when he passed away, I was like, oh, that sucks, So I would love to see more about him and learn more about him.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, as a child, oh, and by the way, it was stomach cancer that he passed from. Yeah, that's ugly. But, as a kid, I totally embraced Fred Rogers, watched the show, watched it up probably until I was probably watching it, to be quite honest, when I was like 12 years old. And then, of course, you just change interests, and I would see it. It became more of a joke. Oh, one more thing I'll talk about. Getting back to like more of a joke. You had mentioned that, not on this show, of course, but we were talking about Fred Rogers at one point. You had mentioned that, you were more into like, not necessarily more into, but you were more familiar with, say, like Eddie Murphy's take on him.
Yes.
Or something like that. They talk about that in the show too. And he was cool with it. He had a very good sense of humor about that kind of thing, but he did not like it being used. He was cool with Eddie's, but he did not like it being used when it was, with violence or in poor taste or anything. I think Eddie kind of danced that line a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it was, he would joke about robbing his neighbors and things like that. But he shows a picture of him. He holds up like a Polaroid picture of him and Eddie Murphy, and he liked Eddie Murphy a lot. But there were other people that were utilizing his persona for negative things, and it really, really pissed him off. That was like one of the things that bothered him most in his whole career. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. That's where I think when I first heard about Mr. Rogers, not even when I first heard, that's the thing that sticks out a lot to me, because it was Eddie Murphy, and when I was a kid, he was it.
Yeah, he was on top of the world.
And the interesting thing is, it had to come from a place of love, because around his, time, of course, I'm sure he watched Mr. Rogers. Everyone watched Mr. Rogers. And think about how dope that is. A PBS show getting worldwide acclaim. I don't know any PBS shows now.
Yeah, I mean, the only other ones that were really, that I can recall, I should say, that were really popular were like, and they're still around, just in different forms. Of course, Sesame Street. Mm-hmm. And then, what was the other one? The Electric Company. I don't know if you remember that. That's where Morgan Freeman got his start.
That's right, I remember. What channel was The Great Space Coaster on?
Oh, shit, you just went way back right there. Do you know I know that whole song? I'm not going to sing it, though.
Yeah,
let's see.
Shall we?
Let's do it. No, I believe it came on it was just on network television.
Really?
I don't remember what. Yeah, it was something that I watched every morning before school, though.
What about Kids Incorporated?
Little after my time. My sister watched
PBS,
it.
Though.
I don't think so. I think that was maybe Fox.
So never
I
mind.
think it was Fox.
It was mainly Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers keeping that thing alive.
And the Electric Company.
Holy
that
cow, dude.
Mm-hmm. And
crazy.
let's not forget, what's LeVar Burton's?
Oh, Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow. Yeah, so those were the main ones, man. But I watched, now that I'm thinking about it, I watched a lot of PBS as a kid.
So did I.
And I think it helped. I really do. It's better than watching all this kind of other crazy shit that kids have now. You know what I mean? And I know that makes me sound old, but to me, it's true.
We are up there, G.
We're getting there. It's all right, though. It's all right. Can you see me right now, bro, on the Skype? How do you think of this gray beard? Like that?
Oh, it doesn't come out through the thing.
So I just look more handsome, is what you're saying.
But always, though. That's the one thing people say where you work. They're just like, where's that handsome guy?
Where is that handsome son of a bitch at?
Sure does. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
No, I'm just kidding. But hey, one more thing about this movie, and then we'll move along, because I really honestly could talk about this movie a lot. As I'm bringing it up, it's all coming back to me. You know what I mean? But there was this emotional scene at the end, dude. This is what made me leave in tears. And don't worry, it's not something like, oh yeah, you're gonna get sad right now or anything like that. But when he stopped doing the show, one more thing, he came back for when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. And you could really see, because the times had changed.
Of course.
Like you were just saying, he'd helped, kids through a certain time. Not only did he do that, but he helped multi-generations of kids through this time. So, he went away for a little bit, and they asked him to come back Like the world needed Fred Rogers, you know, and they wanted him to talk about 9/11. But he was already on the ass end of his show. I think it had just ended. Well, that was another emotional part too, was where they filmed the last day of that. That was another great scene. Yeah, but anyway, he was very reluctant and very frustrated about even going on the air and talking about this because he sort of felt like maybe the times had changed and that he's like, basically he said like, what's it going to do? You know, but he did it, but he was very, very awkward. It doesn't show because that's just Fred Rogers, but he was very, he just wasn't comfortable.
Yeah.
With it. But that was a really important scene. But the one that got me the most was at the very end of the movie, right before he passed and right before when he wasn't doing any type of television anymore. He was just going out and doing speeches, and he would do it for like college graduates and things like that. So there's this one part where he's giving this speech to these college graduates. He asks everyone to take a minute, like a whole minute, close your eyes, and think of someone that left a positive impression on your lives. And they actually give you that time in the movie to do so. And so I did it. And dude, I mean, I start thinking about like my father. I'm thinking about my father-in-law, who were just, you know, they passed within a year of each other, but they were so important to me. And that just got me, dude. And at that point, I realized that it got everyone. There was this, an older man. I would say he's probably like in his 70s or 80s. I'd say like probably in his 80s. And he was with this young woman. I assume it was his granddaughter or something like that. And he was just bawling, like that kind of thing. You know, who knows what he was thinking about.
Of course.
And when you come out, everyone had tears in their eyes, dude. No exaggeration. There was probably not a big theater, but I would say there was probably like 50 people in there. Not a goddamn dry eye in the house.
Of course not, dude.
Yeah. So, you know, in closing, guys, I cannot recommend this movie enough. I don't know how much you've heard about it because, yes, it has been out for a while, and I have been sitting on this one for a while because I've been thinking about it the whole time that we haven't been recording, because I wanted to tell you, good folks, go out and see this movie. If you can still see it in the theater, just do it. Pass up any... I know we've seen, you know, Infinity Wars, and I know that we've seen Black Panther and all these, you know, these great movies that have come out this year. These movies do not compare to the human spirit. You know what I mean? And they don't compare to this movie. I'm telling you right now, in my opinion, this is the best movie that I've seen this year. And I highly recommend you guys get out there and see it. When it comes out on VOD, buy it, you know, and keep it with you and show someone that hasn't seen this movie, because maybe this is part of it. Maybe this is how we kind of get back on track and realize, hey, this guy did, you know, he's gone now, but look what he did. And maybe it'll inspire someone to do this in the future or something like that. But again, as you can probably tell, I cannot speak highly enough about this movie. I will see it again the first chance I get.
Oh, I can't. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to watch this movie and see if it takes over Black Panther for me. If it gives me the same feels of seeing Wakanda and be like, I wish I was there.
You can't compare them, homie.
Let's see if it overtakes that amazing tear that I shed when he's like, this will never become old. And I'm like, take me with you. Maybe Mr. Rogers will do it.
I'm going to start doubting you if you compare this movie to Black Panther.
I think I might, because those are because Mr. Rogers means something, and Black Panther meant something because it was just like seeing beautiful black people that I'd never seen before on a big screen.
No, that's real.
Like,
I feel what you're saying.
I was like, you know what? It's going to be hard to take that out because I saw kids in there saying, I see me on screen.
Yes. Yeah, and you're seeing it from a black perspective. Yeah. I get it. Yeah, that was an important.
So I'm going to see if it takes. I'm interested to see. I think, but it's not, you know what? Let me change that. It's not about taking over. It's about me getting happiness from a new experience. That's what I need right now. I need happiness again. And then if the Mr. Rogers leaves me feeling wonderful and appreciating the people around me, that's what I need right now, dude. I mean, I wish it was on video on demand now, because, you know, sometimes it has in theaters now on Comcast. I'll just go ahead and get it. I'll just rent it off the jump, because sometimes it has in theaters now that you could watch. So I'm going to check Comcast now or Xfinity and see if it's on.
I can pretty much guarantee that it's not.
That's a shame,
unfortunately,
because weaker movies are.
I think that this one's going to float around for a little bit before we get to see it on VOD. I just have that feeling, although, well, it's not going to take that long. I would say we're probably not going to see it for at least another 2 months. I'm actually looking right now to see if it's still playing at that particular theater, and it is.
Okay, I might
go see it.
Yeah, I might have to
go see it, man. There's only two. I think it's like at 2:00 and 10:30 that, you know, the kind of showings that they're having now. But go out there this weekend, man. I'm telling you, I know we've like clashed before on movies and what I think is awesome. Oh, no. I'm going back to that whole bittersweet thing, sweet bitter, which I did not think was awesome.
Yeah, we normally agree.
Right. Well, there's those times though where it's like, dude, I took
I'm
your
right,
advice.
you're wrong. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Won't you be my neighbor?
He played jazz, right?
You know, they didn't really talk about everything that he played, but they just showed him play. Yeah, I would say it was kind of jazz.
That dude was dope. He was dope.
Classical, jazz, but he was super talented.
You know, he was dope. And you know what's funny, though? The church pushes out talented people. Like, when you see the most, like, you know, Aretha, Gladys, all these people that sing so well and play so well, they're like, hey, where did you start singing and playing? 90% of the time. It's like, at the church.
Yeah, I had a stage when I was 9 and I just belted it out.
You had to.
Not me. I'm just saying. Yeah,
I remember, this is so off topic. I remember I had never played the organ really, or in front of people. And I was in a church, and the person up front, I was visiting this church, and they were doing their thing. I was like 21, 22. And they're like, Steve. I was like, yes. She's like, come up here and help me with this song. And I walked up to her. I said, ma'am, I don't know how to play this song. And she whispered in my ear. She's like, there's only one way to learn. And I had to get down and just learn it in front of 100 and something people.
Were people throwing things at you? Like,
dude, I was terrible. Off. She never complained though. And so now when she sees me playing, I know part of her is just like, I remember
that's an inspiring instructor right there, man. People that do that kind of thing and let people believe in themselves and give them the opportunities to do so are the best people.
Yes. And now
those are the people that we remember.
Those, and it brings it back to Mr. Rogers. It's close your eyes and think. And the thing is, I've had such a blessed life. I'm about to say a strong statement. I think this is an over the top statement, but I'm standing by it. I think a person can, one of the measuring sticks of the life that you led is how long you can close your eyes and think of people that have actually inspired you throughout life. How many people have you ran into in that minute that Mr. Rogers gives to you? Can you keep your eyes closed and keep thinking of people that made an impact on your life? If you can, your life has been better than you think. That's means you have a whole list of people that have inspired you and poured into you over the course of your life. Some people had one. Some people had two and they're gone. Whereas you could still be like all the way up to now. You have people that like, whenever I talk to this person does not, it's not just a bullcrap conversation. It's someone that's either listening or is just saying, and is not listening to respond. They're listening to hear you speak and say, okay, now that you've said that, let me pour reality and truth and love and honesty into your life. You don't owe me anything. Have a good day. How many people do we have like that?
I was actually thinking about that as you were talking about it, and it's weird. I don't know, quite honestly, if I have anyone like that anymore. You know,
that's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to have, and sometimes I know that for me, since I don't put myself out there to get it, of course I don't have it. But if I put myself out there to have that person, I'll have it 1,000,000 times over because I've actually would ask for, hey, I need your advice. When's the last time you've asked, even the listeners, when's the last time you've called someone who's like, hey man, I need your advice on something. I'm really having an issue. Or do you just feel too proud and be like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this is a different question than I need your advice. I need your advice. I need your help on something. Can you give me, and you know, it's been, I was oddly enough, I'm reading this book and this book's, it says, asking for someone's help makes those people feel closer to you. It's a mental trick. If you say, hey, I need a favor, asking someone for a favor makes that person feel closer to you. So you're doing them a favor by asking them to help you. Never not ask for help because it makes them feel closer to you. And don't ask, be like, okay, I'll do this for you. No. Just them doing you a favor makes them feel closer to you than they did before. So I need to start saying, you know what? I need advice from you. What do you think I should do in this situation? Maybe the person gives me terrible advice, but now that person is now saying, I feel closer to Steve now. And now they'll get closer to me, know me more, understand me better, and be like, you know, that advice I gave you 2 years ago was bad advice because I didn't know you like that yet. But thank you for putting me in your life to be able to give you future advice. I appreciate that. Now, the people I really ask for advice for is people that are like 60 and over. Because
that have been through it.
Because I'll be like, this is the worst day of my life. They'll say, boy, you will not remember this day in 10 years. Because I was there and I don't remember that day. You won't remember. And they put things in perspective. Like, this is going to be a nothing day for you. In your book of life, this is not going to take up a page of your book. Calm down.
Just know this, dude. Know this. You are that guy for someone. You're that guy for your kid.
That's true.
I'm that guy for my kids.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And I really do feel that way. Since I've been home, I've had this opportunity to be able to like really sit and talk with them and give them some advice. You know, my son's he's not going through anything, but he's 19 and he's trying to figure out what the next step in life is, you know, and we've had some really good heart to heart since, you know, I've been home. Not that we don't have them when I'm working all the time, but it's just a lot easier to do so. But I'm going to say something that is a little bit on the cliche side, and it's the last thing I'm going to say about this movie. And I really mean this sincerely. It is the kind of movie where personally I walked out and I literally, not just saying this for the sake of, hey, go see the movie. I literally wanted to be a better person. Like it showed me, here's the gold standard of someone. You know what I mean? Where are you? And I really had to kind of look at that personally and think about that. And I don't think I'm a poor person or a bad person or anything like that. You know what I mean? A poor person didn't sound right. What I'm trying to say is I try to live the best life that I can live.
Yes.
But it told me that I need to do more. And that's what I took from the movie. It's beautiful, dude.
See,
so please go see this movie.
And you know what's funny? This is super cliche too. Right when you said cliche, this popped in my head. I remember I used to love watching As Good as It Gets, right? And every time he said, she's like, what are you trying to say? And he says, you make me want to be a better man. And she says, that's the nicest thing someone's ever said to me. And I was like, oh my gosh. If I made someone say that, that would be the nicest thing someone ever said to me. If they were just like, Steve, you make me want to, if my son one day said, Dad, you make me want to be a better man. Tell me you wouldn't tear up.
Absolutely, man. I'm a big softie to begin with.
Now I am, G. I think something's wrong because everything.
Nothing's wrong. It's age, man. We're in our 40s now. Yeah, I really think that's it. You know what I've heard is that after surgery, sometimes more specifically heart surgeries, which I have, you know, thank God I've never had. I hear people get very emotional about that. In fact, I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but I was just watching a documentary on HBO about Robin Williams. And there's a part where he did have open heart surgery. Mm-hmm. And when he woke up and just started living life again, he was just crying at everything. He made that part of his act. A whole, you know, sequence in his act was that this whole part about him just crying at the drop of a hat now. And that's how my father-in-law was too. I mean, he was a guy that really... He was very emotional and he was very loving kind of guy, but you never really see him crying. And after he had his heart surgery, dude was crying all the time. If you did something nice for him, it would just really move him and he'd start crying. But I have noticed that, you know, I've had a couple of surgeries and granted it's not my heart, but I have noticed since my first shoulder surgery, maybe I'm full of shit, but I feel like I'm way more emotional now. Or maybe it's just age. I don't know.
I think it's in my opinion, because I haven't had surgery or anything, but I think for me, it's allowing yourself to feel. It's okay to feel stuff. It's not, I remember at one point, they're like, when's the last time you cried? I'm like, I haven't cried in 35 years. And it dawned on me, like, that's not something to brag about. It's just not. It's not a good thing.
Is that really the case?
At a certain point, I hadn't cried in 36 years.
Wow.
It was a long time. And,
you know, to me, it just seems like that's something. I'm sorry.
No.
All I was going to say is that it just seems like that's something where, for lack of a better term, it's just stuffing everything down.
Yes, that's exactly what you're doing. And now all this stuff, at the drop of a hat, I'm crying everywhere. And it's like, oh, all this stuff is now coming out and be like, oh, finally we get freed. And the thing I'm crying about isn't that thing. It's something else that needed to get out, and it's now coming out through that thing. You know, I remember on the way from the gym. It's kind of has to do with you a little bit. I remember you saying that you cried when Stevie sung "Overjoyed," and I was randomly looking through it. I was like, let me see this, and I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know Celine Dion and Stevie have a version of it together. Dan.
I don't think I want to hear that.
No. You do not. Because I wept from the time I listened all the way home.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm not going to start being tacky about it, but I just don't care for Celine Dion.
No. It is that good. Because what she does is, I was like, oh, she listened to the original. Because she does riffs that he did in the original version. So she's singing it like him. And he's doing a brand new take on his lines. So I'm like, oh, she's not trying to which you don't do when Steve is in the studio. She is literally singing this song along with him. And they're harmonizing. And I'm just like, oh my God.
I'll have to check it out.
And remember, that wasn't one of my favorite songs from Stevie. I thought it was good. A lot of my non-favorite songs from Stevie weren't, the reason that they weren't my favorites because I heard them so much growing up. I heard Overjoyed all the time on radio. But the songs on the albums I had never heard. So those are my favorite. Like, oh, I never heard this song before. This is amazing. But I will agree with you, when you're in front of him and he sings Overjoyed, if you don't tear up, it is because he's doing it. The guy who wrote it is singing it and doing it just as well as ever before. But I've realized that, you know what? Whatever these emotions are, whatever kooky. Oh, and like, I'm not even a Cat Stevens fan. But there's a song he talks about.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
What song do you think I'm going to say?
Oh, wait, no. I don't think that's Cat Stevens. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, there's a song where he's telling his son, he's giving his son lessons.
Yes.
Dude.
That is the song, dude. That's the song I was talking
about.
Oh,
my God,
and it
dude.
was, just so we were on the same page, it was actually in, I believe it was Guardians of the Galaxy, too.
Oh, really? I haven't seen Guardians.
So.
I'm the worst, dude. I still haven't seen that movie.
You're not missing much. But
yeah, that song messed me up because now the words, I'm like, oh, I'm saying this.
Find a girl.
Yes.
I can't think of the names right now.
It messed me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be saying this to Maj soon.
You know what? Speaking of that song, it's driving me crazy at the moment. When my son was a senior in high school, he was in Acadec, and those, the kids that are in Acadec are very, very in tune with their emotions, and they're very close. It's a great community.
Is it academic decathlon?
Academic decathlon.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Right. But his teacher, who was this one, he's one of those people that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Those inspiring people that
yes,
teach you to strive for perfection and to be the best person that you can be. He had one of these instructors, and the instructor, he changed the lyrics a little bit, but he sung this to the class, the graduating class. And my kid was a sniveling mess, apparently. He said it was really, really moving. So that song was very popular at one point in this house. We were listening to it a lot, just over the last year. And it's driving me crazy that I can't think of the name of it.
And the funny thing is, it's also this weird thing that's happening to me where I'm listening to new music a lot now, especially since you put me on to certain things. Now I have Apple Music, and I'm just, again, instead of being like, if you like this, you'll also like this. I'm like, I don't listen to the Eagles. I'm like, you know what? Today I will. And then I hear a song, I'm like, I like a song by the Eagles. Because 20-something million people can't be. That's one thing that's real. If it goes Thriller and then the next album sold the most is Eagles, those amount of people can't be wrong. There has to be something good. So I listen to it. I'm like, oh, I get it. Oh, yeah. I like this. Taking It Easy is a good song. It's a good song. And I'm like, oh, pretty good. Okay. And I'm opening myself up to new experiences that I'd be like, I don't listen to Crazy Looking Eagles. Your boy listen to Jodeci. I'm on the Jodeci tip, man. But like, those things aren't even in the same wheelhouse, dog. You can like both. And,
yes.
And I'm opening up myself to new experiences.
I'm glad that you're doing that, man, because it's okay to like what you've always liked.
Totally.
But to say that I don't listen to that because, you know what I mean? Like, I used to do that, and I still kind of do, to be honest with you, with country music. I just cannot get down with country music. It's not that I'm not the kind of guy that's like, oh, well, all country music says, oh, I lost my dog, and blah, 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 blah. No. You know what I'm saying? It's not that. It's just not my way of life.
Yes.
So I can't really relate to it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things they talk about in these songs that I don't. She thinks my tractor's sexy. You know what I'm saying? I understand that's they're being funny.
Yes.
But I don't relate to it,
No.
so I don't like it. However, I have opened up a little bit more particularly in the town that we live in, where people want to play that every now and then.
Yes.
And there are some songs that are kind of nice. I'll say this. I think I'm good with like Garth Brooks, and that's about it. But I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Garth is, but I think for me,
he's a different person.
Yes. And he's like the Taylor Swift. Before Taylor Swift. He made it cool to like it. Like, oh, country is cool because he wasn't super country. He was a country guy, but he somehow bridged the gap to a mass audience. Where people are like, I don't like country, but I will go see Garth Brooks in concert.
And that's me. Like, I'm not going to sit and wax about country music because I know you're gonna hear ignorance come out of me because I just can't do it. But regarding Garth Brooks, a lot of people told me, hey, man, this guy's amazing live. Like, he does some really, really amazing things live.
Yes.
And I've heard this for 20 years, and I just never, thought about it. And then he came to town, and I'm like, you know what? I got paid pretty well. I did some overtime. What the hell? I'm going to go check it out and just see for myself. And getting back to what we're saying, I took that chance.
And loved it.
And just, yeah. I mean, I was like, low places.
Yes.
I don't know the names of the songs or, any of it really, except for like that one. But it was amazing. It was a moving show. Like I would go see him again. I still don't know any of his music, but I will go see him again. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and put my fucking brand on this one too. A recommendation rather. Go see Garth Brooks. Even if you don't like it and you don't want to get like, maybe not go see Garth Brooks right now. It's kind of a fucked up time. But anyway, get a chance. Check him out.
Yeah, I'm going
to go ahead and just retract that whole statement. And maybe I'll come back to that in a couple of years.
Yes.
I'll come back to it in a couple of years, hopefully.
Even though I would see, because there's
maybe just listen to him or watch a concert on TV. Perhaps.
Now, there's not I wouldn't put a specific name out there, but there's a song 2 years ago I listened to that finally, we were joking around. It came on the radio. I think we were like in Walgreens or something. And, me and my friends it wasn't it was not a reunion, but it's like someone I hadn't seen in a while. And the problem is I listened to the song in Walgreens and I couldn't get it out of my mind while I was in the car with them. So we were talking, but in my brain, I kept on reciting the lyrics so I wouldn't forget it when I Googled it at home. And it was Willie Nelson's You're Always on My Mind. And I was like, it reminded me of a specific person. And I was like, it's almost like he wrote it going through and when I read how it happened behind it, I was like, oh yep, that's it. The writer went through exactly what I went through. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh wow, what a great song that's a good, but Willie Nelson is woke too though. So that's why I like him so much. Like I'll say, you know what? As far as what I've seen, he's on the right side of history. So I like Willie Nelson too.
I was actually thinking about that. I'm listening to every word you're saying, but I remember that Elvis sung it. Was that a Willie Nelson song?
Let me see if Willie Nelson, because that's the first time I know the writer. Let's see here. Nelson.
Willie wrote it.
But look at when you get a chance, look at the background of that song. I mean, it's such an honest song. You know what I'm saying?
It's a good song.
Yeah, it's an honest song where I think people do. I know I fell into the trap of, well, when we were together, I didn't do enough. But I promise you, in my heart, I meant to.
I was always trying to.
Dude,
hey,
it was crazy.
I don't like to be, I hate when I say something that's wrong. So I'm going to correct myself. Always on my mind for those that are saying right now, no, it wasn't written by him. It was actually written by Johnny Christopher, Mark James, and Wayne Carlson. And it was first recorded, fun fact, by someone named Gwen McCrae, who I have no idea who that is. There, I feel better now.
Oh, nicely done, dude.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So what else have you been watching, my friend?
Wow, we went on one there, didn't we? That was good. I miss talking to you, Hudson.
Likewise, sir.
Normally, you're just listening to me break down shit, and I can imagine that could be kind of maddening.
I love
so
it.
I miss talking to you. Well, hey, check this one out. I got another one that I watched. I'm curious what you think about this. I know that you watched the first episode. I happen to be reading the book as well right now. Hold on a second, because I forgot the name of the author. Jillian something or other. Baby, I didn't treat you.
That's actually a really good rendition, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys could clip that out whenever you're feeling down and out, just play that.
Maybe I didn't stoop you quite as good as I could have. All right, dude. So the next thing that I'm talking about is a show called Sharp Objects that's on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you watched the first episode. I happen to be reading the book as well. The book is written by Gillian Flynn, who also wrote Gone Girl. Little fun fact for you.
Oh.
Yeah. So now HBO has put out a show. This particular episode that I'm talking about the first episode, was written by Marty Noxon, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was directed by Jean-Marc Valier. Stars Amy Adams, who plays Camille Preaker. Camille Preaker is a reporter. Now, in the show, she's actually from St. Louis, or she works out of St. Louis. In the book, like I said, I'm reading that too, she's from Chicago, or out of Chicago. But she comes from a town called Wind Gap, Missouri, which I believe is a fictitious town. But Camille Preaker has problems, ladies and gentlemen. She's a severe alcoholic. She's also... do I really want to go there? I don't want to blow this for you, but I will say that she's got a lot of problems. She's got some issues with herself, and I'll just say that. But in the story, she is fresh out of a mental institution for this particular problem that she has, and she's back and she's working again. And she there's a guy named Frank Curry who is her editor who kind of he likes her. He knows that she can do better, but he knows that she's not doing great right now. Frank Curry gets a hold of how like they I forget what it's called, but how like for the news departments they have like that ticker thing. It's like you see all the news that's going along everywhere kind of thing. Well, he discovers that in Camille's hometown of Wind Gap, there was a situation where a young girl went missing, and then also another young girl was murdered. So he tells her, hey, why don't you go ahead and go back and let's get a story. Let's bring it back. So-and-so got a Pulitzer Prize for this particular story in his hometown. She's not feeling it at all because there's a lot of problems that she left behind in Wind Gap. She ultimately says, yes, I'm going to go ahead and go back. And she heads back to town. This is a crazy show the way that they're showing it on HBO. It's a great book. I'm not saying that either of them are, better than the other, but they're different. And I will say that it's that Southern Gothic feel.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I love shows like that. Even like something like It that came out recently. That small town, lots of dark characters, lots of interesting people, and there's like a darker thing going on in the town. I like that kind of shit. Yes. And this is exactly what that is. It makes you really feel for Camille Preaker. She's got issues, so many issues. And she goes back to her town. She ends up staying with her mother, who is a terrible person, absolutely terrible, by the name of Adora. And she also has like a stepfather and a half sister. So the whole premise of this is her trying to go back and figure out this murder mystery. While she's there, she goes back initially because one girl's missing and there was a girl that was murdered. But while she's there, the other girl that was missing turns up murdered. So now we've got our case on our hands. There's also another guy that's coming from Kansas City who's a detective, and they are, but they aren't working together. Like they have like this bond, this camaraderie, but they're not really sharing information with each other. I don't know the whole story yet because I'm not all the way through it. But I found this to be a really, really good show, man. I will say that it ran, after reading the book, I feel that it ran kind of slow. Like it's a slow burn is what I'm trying to say. But the acting is awesome in this. I'm a big fan of Amy Adams. Patricia Clarkson, who plays Adora. You may have seen her in Green Mile. She was in Easy A. She was in House of Cards. The detective that I'm talking about is Richard Willis, who is played by Chris Messina. And he does pretty well in this. But it's just a very interesting story. And I'm so freaking intrigued with it right now because I don't know what's going to happen. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold off on watching the rest of the show until I finish the book. Yeah. Because I don't want to get it too twisted. Yes. You know what I mean? Even though I will say that the very first episode, which is entitled Vanish, is pretty much outside of like location and maybe just a couple of subtle changes is very much spot on to the book. That's why I think I like that episode so much. But I think I'm going to finish up the book and then come back to it. But I will tell you that I'm very intrigued. I think this is a great one. And the reason that I wanted to bring this one up, ladies and gentlemen, is because I want to talk about one of our own. We have a listener by the name of Melissa that has been with us since the word. And she, along with someone named Jared, have a new podcast. They've dipped their toe, Steve, into the podcasting waters. And they've come up with something called Wild Pretty Things Podcast, which is a direct companion to the HBO show. And of course, they do comparisons to the book. And she's a huge fan of pop culture and things like that. And she's been one of our best listeners. I will tell you that right now. I wanted to give them a congratulations because I'm not sure. I think they may have been the first one to come out, a show that's a companion podcast to this. However, within the first week or so, they hit number one. What is it? I believe it was 124 on the iTunes podcast, TV, and film charts. So my hat goes off to you. I'm very proud of you, man. That's awesome that one of our own is out there making podcasts and entertaining people. So again, I'm going to give it a little bit of a plug. It's Wild Pretty Things podcast. You can get it on iTunes, pretty much anywhere that podcasts are available. Check it out. It's a breakdown type podcast, and I wish them nothing but the best. Congratulations to the both of you, Melissa and Jarrett. Congratulations. 124. I'd like to be on there one of these days. I'm a little bit jealous, but I'm giving you love.
Good job, y'all.
What did you think about it, though?
I'm probably, it was a little slow for my taste.
I got you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do know what you're talking about. It's a bit of a slow burn.
Yeah, and I don't know what's, like, for me, it's like, I like slow. I don't mind slow if something's happening. But so far, nothing's happening.
Gail just finished the book. It was one of those things where we decided to read the book at the same time, and then she lapped me.
Yeah.
And she really liked it. So I can't wait to finish it up. But it's like, again, I guess I'll just go ahead and read it real quick. And then that way I can finish watching it, because I've only caught the first 2 episodes. I just decided just to talk about the first one. But I think it's a great show, and I think y'all should check it out.
But even though I'm not into the show, I'm still going to listen to my homegirl's podcast, because that's how we do. And I listen to hear her talk, because she's awesome. So let's all do it. What else you got, brother?
I think I'm going to narrow it down to one more now, man. And I think that we can both talk about this one here, because it's the craziest thing I've seen all year. And what I'm talking about, there's this group, I should say, by the name of The Coup that came out of Sacramento. There's this hip hop group, and they're like kind of, I wouldn't say activists, but they are a little on the political side. They had an album that came out. Oh God, I've been listening to these guys since the 90s, I think. And one of the albums that they had was called Genocide and Juice. Has a song on there called Fat Cats, Big of Fish, which is still one of my favorite songs. It's a great video. Check it out. But the guy that I'm talking about, the leader of the group, is Boots Riley. Boots Riley, my friends, just came out with a movie that he produced and directed, and it's called Sorry to Bother You. Man, what a freaking movie, dude. I don't even know where to start with this one, but I can tell you that it is probably the most interesting thing that I've seen all year. I'm not saying best, I'm saying the most interesting thing. This movie is crazy ambitious, and there's just so much going on in this movie, you know what I mean? And it's so original. I guarantee you that there's nothing like it playing anywhere right now.
No.
I thought it was great. It stars Lakeith Stanfield, who you might know from, let's see, what was he in? Well, we know he's in Atlanta, but he was also in Get Out. Thank you. It just wasn't coming to me. It stars the beautiful Tessa Thompson. Got Jermaine Fowler. We've got Stephen Yeun that's in it. There's a few other people that are in it too. Omari Hardwick. Terry Crews is in it for a minute. Danny Glover. Here's the thing about this one. I'll tell you that they're in it, but they're not technically in it. It also has David Cross and Patton Oswalt. Yes. So now let me just break it down a little bit for you. Not necessarily a true breakdown, but I'll give you the premise of what this is. It says, in an alternate present day version of Oakland, telemarketer Cassius Green, and that's Lakeith Stanfield, discovers a magical key to the profession's success, propelling him into Yeah, that's what he is. He's a telemarketer. And he starts off, he's down on his luck. He's one of the, it's like that classic down on your luck. He living at his uncle's house, nothing works. He drives a bucket. He doesn't have a lot of money. One of the funniest things that I thought, it was like right off the bat, was he goes to the gas station. He's driving this bucket to the gas station. He goes, "Give me 40 on 2." And he drops 40 cents into the teller's thing. He's that kind of a guy. So he ends up, someone turns him on to a telemarketing gig. He goes there and he learns quickly that what you need to do to be successful in this is you need to code switch, if you will. Wouldn't you say that's
I would say code switch. How he code switches,
yeah, extreme code switch.
Very, very funny. I don't know how many of y'all haven't seen the commercials. If you haven't seen the commercials, I say go in blind. I'm not going to tell you how we go in blind, because that I would love to have been totally taken aback by that. I would have been like, oh, this is interesting.
You're making me not want to say it now, and I think that's probably a good thing. But there is a certain a certain technique that he uses to propel himself up, and it's in the commercial. So if you do see the commercial, you will know right away what the whole gimmick is.
Don't watch it if you can. Avoid the commercials if you can.
I would highly recommend not watching this movie. So,
I mean, the
or
commercials.
excuse me, not watching the trailer. Thank you. Don't watch this movie. This fucking movie sucks. No, it's actually, I highly recommend you do watch it because I'm still processing this thing. I'm not entirely sure what I saw. And when I walked out of the movie theater, I was kind of quiet, and I was like, I really wasn't sure if I liked it at the time when I saw it. It was something that I had to sit down and process for a little bit. And I'm glad that I did, because it actually, you take this movie at face value.
Yes.
And you just see it. You see this comedy play out.
Yes.
And then towards the end, no spoilers, it completely takes a different turn. I mean, it goes genre switches.
Yes.
And
it goes full sci-fi. It's a sci-fi
it goes full
drama.
sci-fi. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you just take it at face value and you go, okay, that was this weird movie with a weird script and crazy actors, and it looked different, and some of the things that they do, which I'll get into, are really brilliant. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
When I sat down and I thought about it afterwards, there's so much going on in this movie, man. There's so many messages. This is what I want to talk to you about, because I know that you've seen it too. And but there's so many messages that this movie has that you may miss if you're not truly paying attention to it. Would you agree?
Yes.
It's an angry movie.
Yes.
It's political.
Yes.
It's a representation of the times right now.
Yes. Especially for workers. Especially for workers.
Yes, particularly. Yeah. Particularly, yeah. So let's talk about it, man. What are your thoughts on this movie?
It's if you're interested in workers' rights, if you're interested in what success looks to you and what you're willing to do for it and what you're willing to give up for it, regardless of the consequences, if you're interested in unionization, stuff like that, justice, this is the movie for you, because it's not one of those things where it's just like, this is right, this is wrong, the end. It's so nuanced, and it's a very interesting movie, but at the end, you know exactly what side you stand on. There's so many things that happen in this movie that seem like, oh my goodness, that's insane. But when you think about it, if given the okay, that could happen in the real world. No question. If given the green light, that's the scary thing about this movie. It shows what would happen if certain people in power were given a green light to do certain things. When you walk away, they would do it. They would totally do it. And that's the scary thing about this movie. The fun thing about this movie, the interesting thing about this movie, is how they don't shove the content down your throat. You just have to digest it.
Yeah, you got to process.
You got to process, and some people will process it. Some people, they're just not going to like. It's just not going to happen for them. During my showing, two people walked out, which is, I totally, I don't understand it, but from their point of view, I could probably see how they don't understand it. They don't get it. But the people that did stay, a few were like, what? And other people were like, that was awesome. It was just all depends on, you got a reaction. And that's what a movie should do, is get you a reaction. I'm not giving any specifics of this movie because I want you to go see it and be surprised, because anything I say, the more I get deeper into it, I'm going to accidentally slip up. So I will say, there is no if you like this or if you liked a movie like, let's say, Do the Right Thing, you're probably going to like Sorry to Bother You, because both take on justice issues as a sideline to an actual narrative. These things are happening, but there's also a narrative in the story that is separate from those justice issues. Same thing Do the Right Thing does. There's a narrative separate to the justice that's happening, or to the injustice that's happening. So if you like that sort of thing, you need to watch this movie. And especially if you know what code switching is, you're going to laugh at the code switch in this movie.
Tell them what code switching is.
Code switching is when you, it's like when I'm with my boys, I talk a certain way. And when I'm at work, I talk another way, depending on who I'm around. If I'm in the supervisor's office, I have to code switch and talk a certain way around the supervisor. If I'm around, the brothers, I'm going to speak differently. We all speak differently. Like if they put a radio or a recorder in, while I'm playing dominoes, they're going to be like, we can't tell which one Steve is. We don't know because we don't hear Steve there. Nope. He's not in this room until you see it and you're like, wait, what? But at work and, at different places, you have to code switch. Anybody, especially Black folks have to code switch because you could tell you have to put on you will, and when you see it in the movie, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, yes, code switching.
Yeah, you're right, man. I don't want to really spoil anything about this movie
because it's such a
original. Like, when I was not expecting to see what I saw when I went in there,
dude.
I had an idea of what it could be, but I mean, I was so wrong.
Well, you know me. I almost got up. I almost ran, dude.
Oh, woo! Yeah. If you follow our show, and you know that Steve has some issues with certain things that he talks about quite a bit. We talk about it quite a bit on this show. Not quite the same thing, but close. I really wish I would have seen this movie with you, man. Because
no,
I would have been elbowing you the whole time.
I think if we would have gone together, we would not have been quiet. We would have both been like, what the? Like, we would have looked at each other like, what just freaking happened? Like, this movie, and okay, now this is separate from the movie. Bruh, how awesome is Tessa Thompson?
Tessa Thompson is fantastic in this movie. What was her name? Was it like Detroit, that's it. Yeah, she's something else, man. She's beautiful in this movie, by the way, too. But Tessa Thompson is just shooting up to the stars right now. This is the time of Tessa Thompson.
Dude, for her to be able to do Valkyrie and this, she is not and then she does the Janelle Monáe video. She's not letting anyone dictate her trajectory.
She was in Annihilation. I've seen her a lot lately,
which was
man.
Not a bad movie.
No, it wasn't at all. And I liked her character in that. It wasn't a big part,
no,
but I liked her character, and I really don't think that she can do much wrong. I wouldn't say it's over the top, her character, but it's definitely, she's a very interesting character, very artsy, in the way that she presents herself. And she's just she kind of lit up the screen anytime she was on.
Yes.
And now let's talk about Lakeith.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Dude.
He's great. I'm worried, though.
I know exactly what you're going to say. May I try to take a guess at what you're going to say?
Go for it.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're just going to flip me on my head and say, no, that's not what I was going to say at all. I do have the fear that that's Lakeith Stanfield.
Yes.
Like what we see.
That's my thing. He's aloof.
Yeah, no, but his character, you know what I mean? Like there's those certain characters that you see. Now, I'm not comparing the two, but to give you an example, you see a Will Ferrell movie. It's just Will Ferrell again. You know, that kind of a thing. It's definitely that. Why am I apologize, guys, if I'm coming in too hot, but I keep getting my levels are like popping.
Now, mind you, people are like, Tom Hanks gets paid to be Tom Hanks on every movie.
Yeah, but he can transform himself to some degree.
I think they write a movie around Tom Hanks so that it's just like, oh, this is Tom Hanks in a like Castaway is Tom Hanks on an island. And that was a major movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the last movie Tom Hanks did where he was not Tom Hanks?
I don't know, but I like that title. I think that's just what I'm going to call it from now on. Tom Hanks on an island. Let's see.
That's a difficult one. He's Tom Hanks.
Well, his biggest transformation to me would be, Philadelphia. That's an excellent movie, by the way. Not the happiest movie, but an excellent movie. Forrest Gump is what I was going to go with. That's the movie where he completely transformed himself.
And it was well-deserved. Now,
speaking of Tom Hanks, he's actually going to be playing Mr. Rogers, dude. He's coming up in it's not Won't You Be My Neighbor? I forget what the name of it's called, but he's going to be playing Fred Rogers.
He's going to have to lose a lot of weight.
He's going to have to lose some weight. I'm not entirely sure I see it. I was talking to Gail about that when we were driving home. I'm like, can you see Tom Hanks playing Fred Rogers? But he surprised us before. We'll see what happens.
Well, no, like if you could see Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury and then he did it, I'm not questioning anything in Hollywood at this point. Because I would have never imagined him being Freddie Mercury. And when I saw the pictures, I was like, welp, turns out he's Freddie Mercury. Did not know that. There is a Freddie Mercury under him. So I would say if Lakeith, I'm worried that he only has one gear. But if he does a gear switcheroo, well, then it's a game changer. Or he could literally make a living being this guy. Because there is no other this guy. He's the best aloof character I've seen.
You know, I got to say this, though, man. In all fairness, the major roles that we see him in, I imagine that's what they want from him.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
But take Get Out, for instance. You know, at the beginning of the movie, he was kind of the aloof guy that's, you know, talking on the phone like, oh, shit, what's going on? You know, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But when we see him again, that wasn't Lakeith Stanfield. He was able to bring himself out.
He was able to do a little. Yeah, that's true. And
so I don't think we've actually seen him do this yet.
No.
I'm sure he's got the talent to do so.
But then also I have to understand that, you know what? I'm gonna have to see him in a few more things, but I'm wondering if my idea of Lakeith Stanfield is because of his mannerisms and his speech pattern. It might be a situation of he is doing it's just that's his speech pattern and his mannerism, which makes you think only because I've seen him in Atlanta and he uses that speech pattern and those mannerisms that I think, oh, it's him. But I don't know, because look at Donald Glover seems totally different from Parks and Rec, or not Parks and Rec, but from Community to me. He doesn't seem like the same character in Atlanta as Community. That's like two different people.
I would dare to say that Donald Glover's more talented.
Well, yeah, I mean,
straight up.
Look, now that when you're saying like as far as in general as a whole,
talented and versatile.
He is very versatile. And you know what?
He's got a lot of versatility.
Dude, I just heard something about him from a random person. That's odd that you bring him up, but we'll bring it up next time. Nick Kroll had a long thing to say about Donald Glover.
Oh, what the hell? What did he say?
What happened was he was talking to, Dak Shepard has a podcast.
Oh, yes. I'm actually in the middle. I just started listening to that. So it's something that
you're going to run into.
I'll listen to very soon.
And he's like, Dax was like, dude, Donald Glover is an insanely talented, like he said, he was talking about Atlanta. He's like, dude, Atlanta, right? Out of nowhere. And Nick Kroll, dude, he said, dude, Atlanta is so good that I said it in my, he says it on stage. He said, Nick Kroll says, can you imagine if I would have created Atlanta? And I was like, because he was like, Dax was like, it's such a perfect show. And I was like, wow, Atlanta's really crossing over. And Nick Kroll was like, yeah, it's perfect. It's so authentic. It's the most authentic show on television right now. It's just those people in that setting, and that is Atlanta. And he talked about how he knew him. He was coming up through UCB. He was in UCB. And so he's like, he was a class underneath me, but I'd see him come in and do his thing. He was already one of the upperclassmen Donald Glover came up underneath him doing comedy or whatever. So he was able to see him around or whatever. And he said,
Upright Citizens Brigade is what you're getting at, right?
Yeah. And so he's like, there would be times where he'd come in and be like, hey, I'm going to do new comedy like this. And everybody's like, yeah, do your thing, Donald. And then he'd come in, hey, I'm going to start singing. Oh, okay, Donald, yeah, do that. I'm going to start directing. And okay, all right, buddy. Yeah, okay. And he said, being real, a lot of it wasn't good. But he was okay with being not good at first. He would go out there and just be not good. Not a good rapper, not a good this. And he said, so to see him now be amazing and put out something like This Is America, he's like, I remember him. He said, in Dak, because they were talking about self-awareness and being self-conscious. He's like, that's a guy that's not self-conscious. He's like, This America, he has a shirt off. He's not ripped, but he's comfortable in his own skin. And that's what happens when you're comfortable in your own skin. You're willing to go, I'm okay with being bad at something until I'm good. And putting that badness in front of people until I'm good. I don't care what you think. And he just did it. I was like, you know what he did? He was bad until he was good. That's crazy. For you, normally people are like, I'm not going to put out anything until I'm good at that thing. And that wasn't him. He's like, I'll just put out stuff until I'm good. What a change that could be.
That's fire inside right there, man.
That is,
you know what I mean? You're not allowing people to tell you what they think
bingo
is right or should be done that way. And you're just going, no, I'm going to do what I do best.
Yes.
And what feels right to me. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in his case, it's made him very successful.
Yes. And that's what it was funny because I was when you brought him up, I was like, oh yeah, I just heard about him. I think Lakeith and Tyree Henry, that whole crew, Zazie Beetz on Atlanta, I think they're all kind of doing that I don't care what you think about me thing. And that's what's happening. That's what you get that's the vibe I'm getting from Lakeith Stanfield. He doesn't care how people take him. He is going to be authentically Lakeith. And whether I want him to find another gear or not, I have to appreciate the hustle. Like, I can't knock the hustle of a guy's like, I'm going to be authentically me. And he is now making a career off of being authentically him. And I think all of those Atlanta folks are going to do that same thing. So, I mean, that's just for Lakeith Stanfield. But as a whole, I just can't wait to what Boots Riley does next. What is next after this, dude?
I don't know, but I know he's not going to stop. He has been pushing the hell out of this movie. Naturally, he wants it to make a lot of money. He wants it to be successful. But I think this guy, and you can tell by his lyrics too. I'm not going to say I'm a huge fan of all of the Coos albums, but if you go back to the earlier stuff when it was just raw and angry, Boots has a lot to say. And I don't think that we've seen the last of him by any means, particularly if this movie, I know it's only in limited theaters, you know what I mean? I know that they actually put it out a week. I was surprised that Fresno actually got this movie. We're not the biggest city in the world, but we do get some pretty good movies a lot of the time. And but I was surprised that this one came through. The next week, I think it went out because of how it did over the weekend. I think they went out to it maybe doubled or something like that as far as the theaters. But it's not going to be this massive release. But once this movie gets to VOD, it's going to be successful. This is kind of a bold statement, but I will put this into the category. I think that this is going to be a huge cult movie for people. And it's going to be one of those movies that you cherish and those ones that you come back to, much like, say, something like Friday.
Oh, totally.
It's nothing like the movie Friday, but there is a little bit of that
cult,
that feel to it, which, by the way, that was Ice Cube's first venture into directing and things like that. Didn't he direct that movie?
He wrote it and directed it, yeah.
Right. And so what I'm saying is there's a comparison, in my opinion, there's a comparison to Sorry to Bother You, because whereas it's a really good movie and, obviously that's going to be your decision on whether it is or not, but it's a very ambitious movie and it's flashy and it grabs your attention. It holds your attention the entire time. There is a bit of an I don't want to say amateur. No, I will say there's a bit of an amateur feeling to it. What I'm getting at is I think that Boots Riley tried to throw a whole bunch of shit in and not necessarily all of it works. So the way that it's mapped out seems like it could have been maybe streamlined a little bit more. And I think that comes completely from, and the rawness of it comes from that amateur. This is my first going at something like this, and he'll get better as he goes. And by no way am I knocking this guy. But to me, I took that, I could kind of see that, like, oh, this is a new, and I'm gonna take the word amateur out, and I'm gonna be a little nicer about it because I didn't mean to insult in the first place. It's you can tell that he's a first time filmmaker. That's what I'm getting at. And I think that there's something that makes it even better. I think that's why Friday did so well. Not only was it a fantastic script and it was hilarious and it just had all these, these colorful characters in it that people are still quoting today, but there was something about the rawness of that movie that I think helped, contribute to its longevity.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, there's something endearing to a first-time director's outing. I think it's going to go down, in my opinion, as a cult movie that's in the same vein of The Usual Suspects or what's that? The Sixth Sense, where someone is like, do not tell them anything about the second half of this movie. Because you want to see somebody.
Curious where you were going there for a second, but you're absolutely right.
Because you're like, when someone's like, hey, have you seen Sorry to Bother You? They're like, oh no. Oh, and someone's gonna be like, shush, don't say anything. Let's just put it on. And they will be waiting for a certain moment. Just to see the people be like, wait, what just happened? Yeah. And that's going to be the movie that I'd want to show people, like, have you seen Sorry to Bother You? And if they're like, no, I'll be like, oh, let's watch it right now real quick, G. Because I want to see it happen.
Right. Or even someone that's like, oh, I started watching it and I just couldn't get all the way through. I only got about halfway through.
Oh,
then you have not
seen
what this movie is.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Nope.
So go in blind like Steve recommends, and I think that you're in for a ride. Dude. Whether you like it or not, you are in for a ride. And definitely gets the points for the most original and ambitious movie this year.
Dude. I can't wait to hear what Boots Riley is going to be working on next, because he's going to have, I hope he stays true to himself. And I just hope that, I'll say this, I hope that this movie does not end up being a commentary on his career. Where
Boots Riley has always stayed true to himself. I got a feeling that, particularly if that directing bug, that writing bug really grabs him, which I think it already has, we're going to see some equally ambitious things coming from him, because he is not one to keep quiet. He's one to speak his mind, and he's definitely one to take chances.
Oh, and that's what I love, because even though if Spike Lee, if he gets, he'll do a movie, independent movie, a bunch of them, and then he gets an Inside Man, and it turns out you're like, oh, this is what happens when you give him a lot of money, but he still stays true to himself. There's certain things that are very Spike Lee, like the rolling train shot where you see the guy kind of floating down the street. He's going to put that in because, A, this is still a Spike Lee movie. He didn't lose himself. And so regardless of what you think of Spike Lee movies, it's a Spike Lee joint. regardless of how much money they give him to make the movie. So I hope Bruce Riley could do the same. So go out and please see Sorry to Bother You.
One more thing on that movie. It's actually, I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, Steve, but did you know that the concept of this movie was kind of already for public consumption years ago?
Mm-mm.
The concept of the movie is The Coos' last album.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is called Sorry to Bother You. So all of the concept is in the album, but they just, he just made it.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure you would dig that album, to be honest with you. I could be completely wrong about that, and I'm not saying that it's a bad album. I'm talking about me talking to Steve. I'm not sure if that's your joint. I think that if you're looking to see like the angrier, like where he really came from kind of thing, check out Genocide and Juice. It's fucking awesome. It's such a good album.
That's a good name too.
A matter of fact, I'm gonna make sure you get that by the end of the day. How about that?
I think I'm gonna have it on Apple Music.
You may already have it, actually. Yeah, I forgot
about check
that.
it out.
You do have my iPod. I forgot about that.
I have bad news for everybody.
What's that, man?
I have a job and I must go to it post haste.
Oh, you're one of those workers?
I am.
One of those guys that goes to a job?
Yes, I've tried.
I used to be that guy.
Dude, I've tried to run and hit my shoulder on the door jam accidentally, quote unquote, but I just can't get the same results. So I think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna have to just go on in. But I loved having another episode of Heroes of Noise, G.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be back, you guys. I'm sorry that we were gone so long, but don't expect that for a while, because I do promise you that we're gonna have a new show out next week too. Of course, maybe I should have talked to Steve about that. You got any plans, man?
No,
but
when are you coming back?
I'll be back on Sunday.
Ooh, that dude is coming. Dude, you are okay. Is it okay to say you're going on vacation?
Yeah, why not?
Dude.
Just don't tell him where I live.
Dan is going on
fine.
Freaking vacation for the first time in 21 years.
Yeah, we're going to go do some Southern California family things for a few days. Hit the coast, eat some seafood, ride some rides, go give way too much money to the evil empire Disneyland. But other than that, yeah, we're going to have a really good time. It's something that my family has not had a vacation all together. They go on vacation all the time. I work too much, but we haven't had a vacation together in like an embarrassing amount of time. So this is something I'm very much looking forward to. But I will be back on Sunday, Steve. Okay. We're gonna handle the whole word thing. That's gonna be no problem whatsoever. And I'd say that we probably record on Tuesday and have something out maybe Wednesday. Sound good to you?
Perfect. And look for a Twitter video of him throwing bills, making it rain in sunglasses in Southern California.
Yeah, there will be no video of that.
Please do that. Please, man. You're in Southern California. You got to start flying them bills with
like by the Hollywood sign.
Yes,
you want to buy the Hollywood sign,
and make sure it goes slow mo.
Okay, man. I think I can do that for you. We are going to be in Hollywood.
Come on, G, and then put it.
If only you see it, I'll do it.
Oh no, you got to put on the Heroes of Noise Twitter.
All right, fair enough.
Done deal. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you know we love you, and
very much so.
Everybody send love to Dan as he goes out on his wonderful trip. Make sure you wish him well, and hopefully he makes more of a habit of this situation. And again,
I got plans.
Oh, you got to, bruh. We love you, and I'm signing off saying peace out. And the next voice you're gonna hear is Dan.
Yeah, folks, that's it for me. And you just heard my man Steve talking at you. We will be back next week. I cannot tell you how happy we are to bring back the Heroes of Noise. We didn't go anywhere, but we did have to take that hiatus. Thank you very much for coming back. Thank you very much for listening to the whole show. Feel free, you got questions, comments, hit us up at heroesofnoisepodcast@gmail.com. Go to our website, www.heroesofnoise.com. Let's spend some time together. Let's get to know each other. Get those emails in, and let's converse. Let's get to know each other, and we'll share them on the show. All right? Good? Great. For the Heroes of Noise, I'm Dan Ramirez. Peace.
It's almost 10 o'clock, see I got a ball of lip for property, so I slip my beanie on sloppily and promenade out to take up a collection. I got game like I read the directions. I'm wishing that I had an automobile as I feel the cold wind rush past. But let me state that I'm a hustler for real, so you know I got the stolen bus pass. Just as the bus pulls up and I step